Hi everyone, welcome to OCD Live. I'm Ali Greymond. Today I wanted to talk to you about religious OCD. And we're doing these themed shows just because um, I think it's a good idea to know in depth about each specific type of OCD. And if this is not your type of OCD, please excuse some of the stuff that might not be relevant to you. But I do think that it really honestly, you have to understand where I'm coming from with this. I had OCD myself. I got over it, and now I'm helping people for what, somewhere between 6 to 8 years now. I think it's been about 8 years of helping people recover from OCD. So I've heard everything, and I can tell you honestly, it doesn't really matter what type of OCD you have in terms of how you get over OCD. The recovery is very similar, but I do see the importance of knowing how to handle your specific types of thoughts. So that's why we're covering all of the themes, and there's not actually that many, but I would say there's about like 10 to 15 different themes that that warrant going over them, and then we'll see where we go after that. But I do think that it's important to cover these themes. So if it's not your theme, please listen in if you can. If not, then please send me a question with maybe something you would like me to answer about your specific theme. Also, if you have a question today, you can leave it in the chat below, or on the side rather, or email it to me and I will answer it. And I do that throughout the show, even if it has nothing to do with the topic that we're discussing right now. So, okay, let's talk about religious OCD. So religious OCD is a type of OCD that obviously deals with religion. Specifically, obsessions that I find that a lot of the times it's obsessions that center around, am I a bad person? What will happen to me after I die? Will I get into heaven? Or depending on the type of religion, um, what heaven means for that religion. But what's going to happen to me in the afterlife? Those kind of questions. Am I being immoral? Am I doing the wrong things? And although if you're a religious person, it's important to think about those things, OCD kind of takes everything to the next level. So it takes your original desire to be a good person, to stand by your religion, to do the right thing every day, and twists it into not even so much following a religion, but following just the OCD. So say, for example, if you pray every morning, you would like to pray every morning. OCD makes you pray a certain way, and if you don't pray just right, it will make you start from the beginning, or it will ask you to start from the beginning. So it takes your original idea or your original desire to pray and turns it into something else. And it does that with everything. Say, for example, you believe that, say, for example, number 13 is a bad number. And OCD will be like, oh, well, you shouldn't go to this house because it has number 13, or you shouldn't go to, you shouldn't, write down number 13, or if somebody has a phone number with 13 in it, you shouldn't, like one of the numbers is 13. You shouldn't like call them, or so it becomes very kind of limiting very fast if you don't stop it. So, and the reason why I'm explaining this in detail is that I want to make sure that you understand where your specific religious beliefs end and OCD stuff begins, because that is a very important part of the recovery, that you understand what's coming from you, and from you what you truly want, and what's coming from OCD. Because if it's coming from OCD, it has nothing to do with religion anymore. This is just an OCD obsession. And, just like I say in the other videos, that OCD can switch from one topic to another. So just because you have religious OCD right now, you can have another OCD later on. So don't try not to confuse the two as much as you can. And I know it seems very difficult. The more, especially you have OCD, that you start to lose track of when is it OCD and when it's not OCD, and how would a person who doesn't have OCD act in this situation. And the best way to do it is to get somebody who, or like think of somebody who is in, shares your beliefs, your values, your religion, and think what they would do in this situation. Would they go this far with, a ritual that you're doing, or an avoidance, or an obsession? I can guarantee you that they would not, because just from experience of talking to so many people about religious OCD, that it always takes it to the next level, that you don't really need to take it, and that you wouldn't take it to that level had you not had OCD. So always, doing what you want to do and not what OCD wants you to do. And say, for example, if you get into a situation where you start to feel like, okay, I prayed once, but I need to pray again because I prayed wrong, for example. That's a common religious OCD situation. Um, what you have to say to yourself is, I did pray. I prayed to the best of my ability. I'm not re-praying because OCD is making me re-pray. So standing your ground and not being afraid of it, because it's the fear, it paralyzes you, and it makes you think that what OCD is telling you is important and you must follow it. And what if you don't follow it? If you don't follow it, something bad is going to happen, or maybe that means that you're a bad person. None of this is true. You're not a bad person. Nothing bad is going to happen. And, this is just OCD. And I'm not trying to give you reassurance, but you need to have perspective of, um, specifically with religious OCD. I find it very important to have perspective of where religious OCD begins and your real religion ends. In terms of when you're doing a certain ritual or are in a certain situation. So, and once you understand that, just not really giving OCD the time of day, all the time, just going through the situation, not paying attention, and eliminating all of these habits. I bet you that, say for example, with avoiding certain numbers, I bet you nobody would do this to this extent. No matter how religious they are, they wouldn't avoid these types of situations. They wouldn't re-pray. They wouldn't feel like they need to confess everything. All of these traits are a religious OCD trait rather than religion. So, and religion is supposed to, if you want to talk in like a more metaphorical sense, or just talking about specifically about religion, that religion is supposed to uplift. It's supposed to make you feel better. When you're following OCD compulsions, it's actually making you feel worse, and you're becoming anxious. It's not good, so you have to go through it and not be afraid. I think that is the biggest message, specifically with religious OCD, because the fear is paralyzing, because you think, well, I've ruined my whole life and I've ruined my afterlife and everything is bad and it's all because of this thing and it's never going to go away. And it hits a person like a ton of bricks, and the person just doesn't know what to do, so they start to do the wrong things. So, and start small. Write down the list of all of your habits that you are doing with religious OCD and start to eliminate them one by one. I have a book on religious OCD, and it's available on youhaveocd.com, specifically on how to do these things and how to go through when you're having a bad day, what to do, and all of these things. But in short, I can tell you that, you cannot get over religious OCD or any type of OCD until you eliminate all of these habits. So praying the way you want to pray, not the way OCD wants you to pray. So eliminating how OCD wants you to pray, praying your way, doing things your way. If OCD wants you to confess, think to yourself, do you really want to confess, or is this brought on by OCD? And I know that in your heart of hearts, you know that this is OCD related. You know logically that it's OCD related, but it's the fear that kind of makes you think that, well, what if? And you just have to step over it, What if? Then I'll deal with what if. When what if comes true, then I'll deal with it. I'm not dealing with it now. I am choosing to live my life as I want to live it. and just going through it like this every single day. And once you do this, your mind will see that there's nothing here, because again, I'm sure you guys by now are sick of my example of the bear in the forest, but let's go over it again. So in case you didn't listen to my earlier shows, say for example, you go into a forest, you see a bear, or you see something that looks like a bear. You run away in fear, because you don't want to die, right? So you run away, and then you come back to the forest for some reason, say a week from now. So you go into the forest, and everywhere your mind is going to tell you that you see a bear. Is this shrub a bear? Is that branch a bear? Is that whatever it is a bear? Oh my God, I think the bear is coming. I hear something. It's going to send you all kinds of thoughts. Why? Because you made it important the last time. This is exactly the same how it works with any OCD, and religious OCD is no exception. That if you repray a certain way a few times, you're going to want to repray every single time. And these rituals get more and more complex as you go. So you reprayed, okay, fine. Then the next time, you reprayed, but you didn't repray exactly right, so you have to do it again. And these rituals start to get more complex, and you feel like maybe you're repraying now 10 or 15 times, and you can't stop, and all this time the anxiety is getting worse. So you're digging yourself deeper into this OCD hole, and I find specifically because of the topic of religion, it's harder for people to deal with OCD. And religious OCD is extremely common. Guys, seriously, I talk to people every single day, including weekends, and religious OCD is a very common OCD for my clients. And I can tell you that it doesn't matter what type of religion you have, what's your religious beliefs. Some people are not even religious, and they're getting religious thoughts. It's all over the place with the themes and the types and all of this, but the rituals are still very similar, and the compulsions are still very similar, and the avoidances are as well. So once you start to eliminate these behaviors, your brain will start to refocus. So again, let's go back to the example with the forest and see what would have happened if the person would have chosen differently. Okay, so if the person would have went into the forest the first time, saw the bear, or thought they saw a bear, and ran away because still, didn't want to die. Then they went into the forest again, and this time when OCD would tell, or not when their mind would tell them, oh, what if there's a bear here, there's a bear there, they would say, nope, no bear, still gonna walk through the forest. Then the time after that, what would happen is that they would walk in and they would be just fine. Because if not, then the time after that would be for sure. Because what happens is that the mind sees you responding without fear, or choosing to respond without fear to a fear-provoking thought, and it says, oh, okay, well, here she's responding without fear, that means there's nothing there. That's the situation with OCD, is that the part of the mind that is governing this is only able to realize if the situation is dangerous or not by your reaction. It has no way to decipher it without your reaction. So let's look into your reaction, and if you react as if something is important, it's going to send you more of that. And that's where you get caught up with OCD, and with religious OCD specifically, what we're talking about today. Right? So you get focused, and your mind will send you more, and then you get more focused on it, and it starts to have a snowball effect. So just like the snowball gets created, you can undo it by, and this is what we call ERP, the exposure and response prevention, that you're faced with exposure, but you're refusing your response, you're preventing your response, and that shows your mind that it's not important, and your mind starts to move on. And this process takes time. It's not instant, because you've been repeating the wrong things for a while to your mind, so it takes a while to undo. And there's a proportion to it as well, that if you've been say for example, if you had OCD, and this is not specific to religious OCD. This works for the same for all types. And this is, I can tell you, based on what I see experience wise. If you had OCD for years, it'll take you, unless it's been like 50 years. But if you had OCD for a few years, you would probably take about 6 months to get over OCD. If you had OCD for less than a year, it will only take you maybe 2 months to get over OCD. 2-3 months, if you are putting all of the effort into it. And that's what I always say in the recovery program, because people, when they're signing up for my recovery program, they're always asking what is the success rate, which obviously, they need to know that. And it really all depends on your effort. With the recovery program, I am here for you, and I am available basically, at a moment's notice when it comes to chat, and then also pretty quick when it comes to sessions, depending on if I'm already booked up or not. But usually I can squeeze you in somewhere within that day if you're feeling bad. But the chat, I'm available pretty much instantly. Or if you're doing it by yourself, then it's important for you to be your own therapist and always be saying that, this is an OCD thought, I'm not dealing with it, I need to remember what I have to do, that's the right things to do, and follow that and not buy into the thoughts. Because the more you buy into the thoughts, the worse you will feel. So it's very important to always keep yourself on point and always keep yourself going in the right direction. And that is the speed of recovery. That if you're always doing the right thing, or most of the time doing the right thing, it's just like you're taking steps forward. If you're doing one step forward, one step back, then you're not going anywhere. So you have to make more steps forward than back, and depending on how many more steps forward than back, that is the speed of your recovery. So if there is a time element where you need to get over OCD by a certain day, or you would like to get over OCD by a certain day, then you really have to follow through and really recover fast. Okay, I have a question here. Sometimes it is difficult to understand if I want to pray or OCD in me wants to pray, how to figure this out. And if I don't pray at the time, then it seems I am afraid of praying and I'm avoiding it. Yeah, and this is exactly what I was talking about before, that the difference, the way you can tell is, would you say that, say, pick somebody who also shares your religious beliefs. Would this person do, would this person want to pray in this situation? Or would this person want to pray how you're praying in the situation? I can bet you they would not. Because OCD, like I said, it always twists things. So it takes what you truly want and twists it into something else that's way over the top, And if you don't do it, just like you say, if you don't do it, then you feel, well, maybe I'm a bad person, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. And those feelings are just coming from the fact that your mind is thinking that you are doing the wrong thing by not running away from the bear, like I said in the example, right? So it sees you going against the grain, not doing what you were what your mind wants you to do, because your mind thinks you're in danger if you don't follow the OCD. And that's why it's sending you those feelings. So you have to disregard the feelings that come along with anxiety. So feelings of guilt, shame, needing to confess, feeling like you're a bad person, feeling like you're doing the wrong thing. All of these things all have to do with the fact that your mind thinks you're in danger and you're not protecting yourself. That is why you're getting these thoughts. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with your mind believing that basically black is white and white is black. So as it starts to fix itself, these feelings will naturally go away. You will not get these feelings as you're starting to get further into the recovery, but in the beginning, it's very strong and you just have to power through it. Yeah, and exactly what you say, that even the person says, nope, even my family members don't pray even though they are equally religious. Yeah, so that's the whole thing, is that, it's there is a point where OCD takes over. So praying is a good thing. praying a million times and doing it just right just to satisfy OCD is not a good thing. Okay, and the person says here, I hope you don't mind me reading your question out loud. They can see it in the chat anyways, and nobody knows who you really are anyways. If I don't pray, then for the first 5-10 minutes, then no. Or if OCD thoughts in my mind get increased. Yeah, they will get increased because what you're doing is you are going against what OCD wants you to do. Your mind sees that and it's sending you more thoughts to get you to react. It's like basically the same thing is that if you started to cross the street on a red light, which is what your mind thinks you are doing, okay? You start to cross on the street on the red light, and as you get to the middle of the street, the more dangerous part, your thoughts will get in, your anxiety will increase, your heartbeat can increase, your thoughts of what can happen can increase. So it will get worse and worse and worse as you get to that area, you know. So the same thing here, that the further you get into it, the more the more anxiety it's gonna give you, because it thinks you're doing the wrong thing. You really just have to power through it, and don't let the fact that it's religious in nature scare you. There's nothing here, honestly. You know, this is a typical OCD, and it doesn't matter if for some reason say for example a person switched religions, you would get a different type of OCD. OCD doesn't really care what type of thought it gives you, as long as it thinks it's important, because it's not OCD specifically, it's your mind giving you these thoughts because it thinks the topic is important to you. If say for example you switched from this religion to another religion, then that other religion would become more important, and your OCD thoughts would start to center around that and not this. So, or for example, if within your same religion you were focusing on one type of aspect of religion, and then you started to focus on another type of aspect more so, um, you would get thoughts in on that subject and not this one, because OCD always attacks what is most important to you in at your current, where you currently are in your life, right? So if what that changes, it will attack the other thing. And the reason why it does that is it wants you to be safe in the area that is most important to you. So disregard the feelings, disregard the thoughts, and do what you truly want to do. Pray the way you want to pray, be the way you want to be, not the way OCD wants you to be. So, and you will start to see improvement. So what you will see, at first you will see, like you're saying, a lot more thoughts coming into your mind. And as you continue to go through it and as you continue to persevere, you will see the thoughts get kind of, you'll still have a lot of different thoughts coming into your mind, but they will start to go lighter and lighter, and the anxiety will lower down from each individual thought. So you will start to feel easier, even though these thoughts are coming in all day long. They're going to be lighter and not giving you so much anxiety, and eventually going to a whisper and eventually going away. That's usually how the recovery continues. And you know, you have to kind of look at yourself like as a warrior in this. You know, you're going into battle against OCD. The topic of OCD doesn't matter. Your religious beliefs are your religious beliefs. It cannot attack that. And just being very very forceful with that you want to protect what is dear to your heart when it comes to religion, and you're not going to let OCD ruin it. And it's like that with all types of OCD, that if for example relationship OCD, if the relationship is very important to you, you're not going to let OCD ruin it, or no matter what it really is, you know. So, and just going through it like that and not letting OCD gain any ground, especially when you have a new thought coming in. So say a new thought comes in, well, what if that, at that point it doesn't really have any, it hasn't gained any ground yet. So if you squish the thought right when you get it, it's going to be much easier than you worrying about it for half a day and then squishing the thought when you made it so relevant in your mind already. So starting right away and just eliminating it, you will start to feel better. So I hope this answers any questions. If you have more questions, please let me know. I think actually maybe I'll do a few shows on religious OCD just because I feel like it's a really big topic and I'm getting a lot of it. A lot of emails through the clients, and then just people emailing me asking questions about it. So I do think that it's important to kind of really dissect the OCD when it comes to religious OCD and make sure that we're all on the same page in the recovery. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you guys watching every time. I really do. And we're just kind of growing this live podcast, and hopefully as we continue, more people come in and we get more questions. Thank you again so much. And if you guys would like to get more information, you can visit youhaveocd.com. I have my private recovery program with just me one-on-one. You can find it there. There's also ebooks available. There's also free information available on there as well. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.